Now, there's a weird little controversy that's spun off of all of this, and it seems completely and totally contrived. And this is the kind of stuff I hope we can stay away from. If you want to argue for a higher minimum wage, if you want to argue against the idea of a separate minimum wage for youth or for those who serve alcohol, then you can make that argument. Reasonable people can disagree on minimum wage policy. I think the government has gone too far too fast. I'm not against the idea of a lower minimum wage for youth. But again, we can disagree on these things. The NDP, however, are accusing Jason Kenney, falsely I would argue, of suggesting that those with disabilities should receive a lower minimum wage. Now, if Jason Kenney had actually said that, then maybe we'd have something. Because, sure, that would seem incredibly unfair, wouldn't it? Why should someone with a disability get paid less? So that would be a big deal if Jason Kenney had called for that. So why is it that only the NDP appear to have noticed this? Well, I mean, Jason Kenney was speaking publicly about minimum wage this week. Did everybody just miss this? How would everybody have missed this? Well, here's what Jason Kenney said this week. Talking about the importance of allowing businesses to create jobs, arguing that NDP policies have prevented that. He says, take all the government programs you want. None of them replace the value of a job. The greatest social program is employment, and the greatest creator of employment for young people, for people with modest levels of human capital, for first-time hires, is the restaurant, is the food service industry. This isn't just some segment of the economy. You have a larger role to play in our society. So you might be sitting up there wondering, okay, but I thought you said something about disabilities. What did Jason Kenney say about people with disabilities? Well, the short answer is he didn't say anything about people with disabilities. The quote that I just read to you is the quote that somehow NDP partisans have decided that Jason Kenney was indeed talking about people with disabilities. St. Albert New Democrat MLA Marie Renaud on Twitter last night said, hey, Kenney, why do you think that people with disabilities, or as you like to call them, people of modest level of human capital, deserve to be paid less for their work? Well, who decided that the term human capital referred to people with disabilities? This is not a term that Jason Kenney invented. If you took all of 10 seconds to type human capital into your little Google machine there, you'll see pretty clearly what it refers to. And it's very much in keeping with the point that Jason Kenney was making, that these entry-level jobs for young people or people without education, without post-secondary education, for example, that these can be an important step for them. Just to confirm the point here, in case you're not at your Google machine, from dictionary.com, human capital, noun. The collective skills, knowledge, or other intangible assets of individuals that can be used to create economic value for the individuals, their employers, or their community. From Wikipedia, human capital is the stock of knowledge, habits, social and personality attributes, including creativity, embodied in the ability to perform labor so as to produce economic value. Okay, so the term has been around forever in the field of economics. So somebody yesterday, for very partisan reasons, decided that we're going to invent a new definition that we're going to apply retroactively to what our political opponents said this week. And instead of talking about a known economic term, we've decided that he was actually talking about people with disabilities. Where did they get that from? That's not, in any sense, a definition of this term. It never has been. And it still isn't, despite the protests to the contrary. So again, if you want to argue that the minimum wage should be the same for everybody, and that needs to be $15 an hour, or whatever new arbitrary figure everybody decides upon. Maybe it's going to be $20 an hour next year. I don't know. But again, if you want to defend the government's minimum wage policy, if you want to criticize Jason Kenney for suggesting he's open to separate tiers of minimum wage, go ahead and do so. Right? This is an election campaign. We should be willing to discuss and debate ideas on minimum wage. We've got different competing views about how best government policy needs to address this. But it is demonstrably false to suggest that the term human capital refers to people with disabilities, or that Jason Kenney and the UCP are suggesting that people with disabilities deserve to be paid less. I get that we're going to get over-the-top rhetoric, a lot of silliness, a lot of mudslinging in an election campaign. I'm not so naive as to think that's all going to go away magically. But I think we need to be able to call out these kinds of allegations that are false and go over the line. And I'm willing to do it on both sides. Might seem like at the moment I'm picking on the NDP. But they deserve to be called out for this. The other side's doing it, they deserve to be called out as well. This is false. It's not a difference of opinion. On issues like minimum wage, there's absolutely differences of opinion here. But this is a false allegation, accusing a politician of taking a position that he hasn't taken, accusing a politician of arguing that people with disabilities deserve to be paid less. If anyone wants to suggest that, by all means, let's hold them to account. Why are you saying that? What do you mean by that? That wasn't said here, and I think the NDP should apologize. Again, I'm not holding my breath for that. At the very least, they can stop making these silly claims. I think the debate deserves better than that.